Okay, so now that we have our profile created, our horizontal alignment, or our surface, we're going to eventually generate a corridor here, but I just want to look at a few features that you have in profiles that are kind of nice. If you're looking for information on your profile, there's a couple of nice tools. Besides the grid view, which is really good, you can get a lot of your basic information, particularly PVI information, grades in and out, curve lengths, and then you can also use this as an editing tool. But you can get information at specific point values by going to the Analyze tab and going over here to our Inquiry tool. And the Inquiry tool allows me then to tell it what type of thing that I want to generate. So again, you got points, surfaces, alignments. If we go to our profile view or profile, if I go to my profile, I can get a station and elevation at a point. Would come over here and ask me for the profile name. So the existing topo surface would be this guy here. The layout would be this guy here, the proposed. So I'm going to OK that. That comes in here. And it wants to know what station I'm going to be at. So I can either just select on the screen like that, gives me the elevation, or I could specifically type it in, 13 plus 0, 0. And it gets me the elevation at the point. So notice it's showing me a little graphic right there. And as I change, that'll change with it. So notice I can just kind of go in and analyze points along that. I also have the ability in this tool to look at differences between profiles. So if I want to choose this guy as my existing and this guy as my layout, so whatever station I'm at, again, I can just click. You notice a little graphic there. Click again, or type in an explicit value. Let's say I want to go to 1325, and I can get the difference over here. So that's a great tool when you're looking at some differences and some changes you want to make or think about. And when we actually do some edits, there's some things that we could get into. This would allow me to insert PVIs into the alignment, delete PVIs, remove PVIs, and I'm basically doing that graphically down in here. I can also do it more of a tabular form. This tool right here is going to allow me to select a PVI. I'm talking about this one, excuse me. This one right here is the insert PVI tabular. And what it'll allow me to do then is actually give it a station, elevation, and either create a curve or not. I can kind of do the same thing with raising. This is kind of a neat tool. The elevation change, raise or lower, all of them are station range. So you got a lot of tools in here that you can deal with. Another nice tool is a tool called the tracking tool. And if I click on my profile, up here I've got this thing called the station tracker. It's probably turned off, but if you turn it on in the current viewport, what it will do is you notice as I drag my cursor along here up in the profile view, you can see where it's showing me exactly where I am in the horizontal. If I go down there in the horizontal, it does the same thing, it reflects that information up in the vertical. So that tool will stay on until you turn it off. So I find it a little bit overwhelming, so sometimes I'm going to turn it off. Okay, so let's go ahead. What we're going to do is generate a band here and see if we can do that. We did that last week. So we're going to click on this guy. Right click. We're going to go to the profile view properties. We want to generate a band, so go to the band tab if it's not already there. And let's open this guy up here and find what we've got. We want to do elevations and stations, so we're going to go ahead and add that. Okay, that box. And we're going to have to make some changes in here probably, but I do want you to notice what it's set to. Both the profile 1 and profile 2 are existing, and so what we want to do is go to profile here, and I want to make that layout. So profile 1 will be existing ground, profile 2 will be proposed. We're going to go ahead and apply that, okay that. We should see our band in place here. And if you remember last week, you'll notice we had to do some edits on this, but this should actively or actually be reflecting what's happening here. So this should be the existing, that should be the proposed, and if we go up here and look, that looks correct. Existing is higher than the proposed. And if you wanted to make some changes in that band, you can do that. I'm going to give you a few minutes to try that, and we'll come back. Okay, were you able to get your bands to look like this? I have existing to 1 decimal place and proposed to 2. If you can't, here's the way to go through that, and we'll just run through that quickly because this is a little bit difficult with labeling. I'm going to click on the band and right click. It gives me the edit band style, and this is a quicker way of doing that. So I'm going to go to band details, and what I would do is go to major stations, and major stations, go to compose label, grab the existing ground elevation, click on the contents section, the ellipsis. Actually click on this to rectify what's going on here. If yours is set to a precision other than 1, set it to 1, and don't forget to promote it. That's very important. Okay, that. Then we go to the finish ground, do the same thing. Click on that, click on that. Make sure you click here, make the change, promote it, okay it, okay it, and okay it, and that should show up. Okay, let's generate the intermediates at a 50-foot instead of 25. It's set right now currently to 25, and these ticks up here are showing at 25, or 50 rather. Well, what we'll do is we'll generate the intermediates first, or the minors. So again, I'm going to click on the band, go to band style, minor stationing, compose my label, and in this one all I want is a proposed elevation. So I'm going to get rid of existing elevation. If it says EG, just delete it. For finish ground, what we're going to do, make sure that's profile 2, hit the ellipsis, click on that, change that to 1/100th of a precision. Go ahead and promote it. Okay that. Apply it. Okay it. It's probably not showing up yet, so what we have to do here is go to the display tab, and right in here we're going to hit minor stations, label minor stations, apply that, and okay that. And notice this is now proposed information at every 25 foot along that. If you'd like to change the interval here, you have to go to the profile view style, edit the profile view style. You find this under the horizontal axis setting. Under the minor ticks, it's set to a 25-foot interval. What we're going to do is set that to a 50, and notice what it changes there. So now we have a nice band style set up, and that works pretty effectively. So go ahead and make it save at this point, just to make sure that you've got your drawing somewhere. I'm going to just call this Lab 7 and save that. Going to go ahead and close this box. So now we have a nice profile. We have a nice plan. What we want to be able to do now is visualize this three-dimensionally and actually apply some templates to this. We're going to be talking about this process a lot more in depth in the next couple of weeks. Okay, let's go ahead and generate a corridor quickly, and we're going to do this today just as an overview, and then in the next couple of weeks we'll be developing corridors much more in depth. A corridor requires several pieces of information. You need a good valid surface, you need a good horizontal design, and you have to have a vertical profile. Then the fourth piece of information we're going to need is an assembly, which we would create typically from scratch. Civil 3D has assemblies associated with it that are already pre-built that we can utilize. So we're going to go over here to the Home tab and open up this guy called the Tool Palette. And the Tool Palette will float out and have all of these different things in it. These are ways you would build your assemblies. You have ones that are already pre-built for you. Then you have different pieces. These are component pieces. So you have basic lanes, guardrails, all kinds of stuff here. We've got different types of lanes, shoulders, medians, curbs. They have quite a assembly of stuff that you can utilize. We're just going to simply grab this guy called basic assembly, and I'm just going to drag him into my drawing. And there's my assembly. I can go ahead and dismiss this box. You would typically get problems like this. Don't worry about it in the panorama. Typically it doesn't mean anything. You can see this assembly is composed of a lot of different features which we'll be taking a look at, but these are lanes right here. That's a curb. This is a shoulder with a sidewalk, and these are cut and fill slopes. And you can click on each little piece of that, right click, we can go to properties, and this is the properties of that some things you can set in here and change, some things you can't. You also have a right click, you can go to the subassembly properties, parameters for that, and here you can actually do more comprehensive editing. If we wanted to look at the daylight lines, we can see what their properties are set to. And you notice there's quite a few and a lot of different settings for cut and fill slopes and all of that. So we'll be investigating that as we get into this. So we're just going to use this guy for today. And what we're going to do is apply that to this profile and this horizontal alignment and target it to that surface. So I'm going to go here, create a corridor. Corridor, we'll give it a name, use a basic corridor style. I'm going to use alignment 1 with the correct profile. I want to use the layout profile. The subassembly I want to grab is what's called basic, and I'm going to target the surface called existing ground. So I'm going to hit OK at this point, and it generates this box, which requires a lot of getting used to. We're going to spend a lot of time in this box overall, but right now we're just going to go down here to frequency, and I'm going to change the frequency along curves to 10s instead of 25-foot interval. Notice it now says varies, and let's make sure that it's targeted to existing ground, and if it's not, you can click in there and set it to existing ground. Okay, we're going to OK that, apply that, build our corridor, OK that, and you should now see your corridor in place. And that corridor is a really complex model, has a lot of information associated with it, and we're going to go take a look at that here. One of the things we can do is look at this in cross-section now. So I'm going to click on the corridor, and up here you get your context-sensitive corridor tab. And one of the things we're going to look at today is the section editor quickly, and we're going to take a look at this drive feature. Both of those are very interesting. And later on we're going to be taking a look at these guys here. So what I want to do is go to the section editor, and if you open that up, you'll notice there's view options that you can set up and viewport configurations. But we're just going to go ahead and click on that, and it should generate 3 viewports. This one here is your plan view, your profile view, and this is your cross-sectional view. And when you're down here, if you make that active in there, you can do zooms here within your subassembly. So I can zoom extents of that, or I can zoom to offset and elevation, or for instance I could zoom to a piece of the subassembly and I could choose what I want to zoom to. Notice it takes me right to that. If I go back to a zoom extents, it shows me the extents view. And notice I'm at a particular station. I can go through the list, go to station 50. Notice I get my little indicator here and here, and I've generated that, and watch as we scroll through. It's just moving along station by station. Notice when I get into my curve, and I can just do this by selecting up here, I get into a much tighter interval because we generated those at 10 foots. So you can actually see how you're daylighting and all your information associated with that, how that all works. And within this you've got a parameter editor. You can make a lot of changes in here, and any change you make in here will tend to reflect it back in here. So I can even make changes here which will affect my corridor, which will ultimately affect this. So these guys are all linked, and that's just the wonderful aspect of this. We're going to go ahead and close this. and look at this in 3D space. So we're going to go out in 3D. So I'm going to go to 3DO, and I'm going to orbit this. And what you'll see is that kind of view like right there. You do notice a lot of times you'll get this kind of thing going on with your corridor, and that happens because there's just no vertical information out here. This is called a waterfall, and it's usually a pretty easy thing to fix. We're not going to worry about that today. But what we want to do is generate this into a 3D drive down. We're going to drive it. So what I want to do is go back to top here, and I want to freeze a few things just to get them out of the way. The first thing I want to do is get rid of my surface. So I'm going to click on my surface, right click, go to surface props. We're going to set that to no display. Apply that. And I want to freeze my contours because they really don't have any function in this right now either. So I'm going to go back to the Home tab. This is a wonderful tool under layers. If you've never used it, the layer freeze. Just select whatever object you select. It freezes it out for you. And I guess we could probably get rid of this information. They actually don't need that, and I don't need my labels. So we're going to go ahead and see what a drive down looks like. We're going to click on this, and you can either right click and go to drive, or you can go drive right here. Now when it asks you to select a corridor feature line, what do you want you to do is go zoom up a little bit so you can see the center line. We're going to select that and hit Crown Pavement 1 or Crown Pavement 2. It takes it a minute. Okay, and it's set up now. It takes sometimes a little bit of a time to respond here. Okay, it's a pretty big file. Mine actually says it's not responding. Give it a minute. Okay, it comes back. All right, you can set your height factors for your... Still not responding. Eventually it will. Okay. You can set your eye height, your target height, so those can be set. You can change your speed, set to 40 miles per hour right now. You can set your view up, although I found, and I'm not sure if this is a bug in this, but when you set your conceptual views up differently in here, it doesn't seem to reflect it. So there are other ways to do that. But what we're going to do is just go ahead and have it play. And what it should do then is drive down your road, give you a real nice view of what's going on, and you can get a real good feel for how that road's working, how the design is, and watch what happens when we get to the waterfall here. We're going to drop right off here. And it takes it a few minutes to go through. But you can see all of your features, your cuts, your fills, your sidewalk, everything that's in there, and it just gives you a great tool to design this thing with. And eventually, yeah, there's the waterfall. So I'm going to go ahead and close that. So that's covers what we wanted to get into today, and we will pick up with this next lab and deal with corridors more and the assemblies and show you some of the power within that. So go ahead and save this and then send it along, and we'll see you next week.